Well, hello, Sarah and Jenna. Today, we are the resident brain spotters here at Sage Minds Counseling, and although we just celebrated its 20th birthday, brain spotting's still a fairly unknown modality. Sarah, when did you hear about brain spotting? Was it in grad school?
Actually, no, it was a kind of a big gap in the education. They didn't mention anything about it. I didn't hear about it until I came here to Sage Minds, and knowing what we know about how the brain or how trauma affects the brain, I wanted to do something. So I'd been kind of interested in EMDR, but once I heard about brain spotting, that felt a lot more natural for me.
Okay. Jenna, how about you?
So actually, my first day here at Sage Minds as a student intern counselor, I observed you, Jennifer, using brain spotting with one of your clients, and I was able to see how quickly she was able to connect with her emotions and be able to process. And I was just in awe of the session. And so pretty soon after, I signed up for both phase one and phase two. So how about you, Jennifer? How did you learn about brain spotting?
So a colleague of mine had asked me to do the training with her. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I thought, why not? I can have another tool in my therapy toolbox. After day two of the training, though, I'm like, this is on to something. I really like this. And so getting back to the office, practicing it with a few clients and fine tuning a little bit, I was quick to notice how helpful it was for my clients. So then I signed up for phase two a couple months later. Sarah, how about you? What made you interested?
I think I was really interested in the fact that it's very client centered and it's very flexible. And so that was really appealing to me about that.
Jiva, how would you describe brain spotting to a client?
So it's actually a way for a client to identify and process emotional experiences and unprocessed trauma by using eye positions. The idea is where a client looks actually reveals the location of emotional pain that's stored within the brain. So by holding that gaze, which is actually called the brain spot, that's how the brain is able to access and process the associated feelings and emotions with that.
Yeah. I love that it's a physiological experience with psychological consequences, psychological results. I love the fact that we can use bilateral stimulation music to help stimulate both sides of the brain to kind of process a little bit deeper.
So, as y'all know, I'm also trained in EMDR and brain spotting. What I like about brain spotting is that it's a lot more organic and flexible. It can be totally different from session to session. We can spend 5 minutes brain spotting with the client, or we can process the whole session. Another thing, too, that I like about it is that the client doesn't have to verbalize what they're going through or what they have been through. We can literally process in silence.
Right, like being new to the field, like that's what we are trained to do is talk, right? Like that's the basis of our profession is talk therapy. So it's really interesting that with brain spotting, a client doesn't need to talk. I mean, they can if they want to, but they can be completely silent and just notice what's coming up for them.
I had to get comfortable with silence really fast.
Yeah, it's not something that I think as humans we're normally comfortable doing. I had a really profound experience during my training where we processed something that I didn't even know what we were processing. And we both just sat in silence the whole time.
So let me ask you, how did you know they were actually processing? How did you know they weren't just doing their to-do list in their head?
Yeah. One part of brainstorming that's really important is the attunement between the therapist and the client. So as you know, we're sitting in silence. I'm paying attention to body language, facial expressions, especially eye movements, regardless if their eyes are closed or open. There's stuff going on, tears going down their face. You can see the way that they breathe. There's a lot going on. And even at the end, when the client tells me how they feel, that's how we know.
Mhm. And I even had a trainer once tell me something that stuck with me. Like, you don't have to know what it is to know that it is.
That's the beauty of brand spotting. The setups, the experiences can be different for each client to figure out what the client needs.
Yes, if a client came in that morning and said, Jennifer, I'm in a tailspin, we can literally just pull out the pointer and let the brain do what it's designed to do. Or we can talk through that tailspin. We can talk through that situation. What was happening right before you went into a tailspin? What triggered that tailspin? What do you think was going on in your body? And then we can pull out the pointer if we feel like we need to.
And I also appreciate how brain spotting has many setups that we can use depending on client needs. Like, outside window, inside window, gaze spotting.
I love rolling brain spotting. It's one of my favorites.
Exactly.
One eye.
Exactly. With resource brain spotting too, we can use it for clients who are overly activated and outside their window tolerance.
Yes, again, just speaks to the beauty of the flexibility of brain spotting that you don't necessarily get in other modalities of ability. Well, thank you both for visiting with me today about brain spotting. If you are curious to learn more about brain spotting, please look at our website. You can also reach out to our office and schedule an intake with me, Sarah, or Jenna.